Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel Random Drop. And this week I want to talk about Wayfinder. Let's get into it.
Hey everybody, before we get started, I just wanted to say if you enjoy our content and want to stay up to date with our videos, hit the subscribe button. It really helps the channel. Thanks. So, on to the video.
So a little bit about Wayfinder initially. It came out in 2023 in early access, and I wouldn't say it came out to acclaim, but there were a massive amount of server queues to get into the game and try it out as people were interested. But initially, people couldn't play the game and people were getting frustrated for quite a while. There was even a joke where you called it Wayfinder and whatnot. There was a meme going around. But when you actually got into the game was pretty alright. It was totally fine. It kind of ran like crap initially, but it's an early access game. They're working on it. But overall, there seemed like to be like a decent game behind this whole thing. But then, you know, more patches and things came out. People talked about the game less and less. The hype kind of died down quite a bit, and I don't know exactly what the reason was, as the game was totally fine. Maybe it had a lot to do with there were so many incredible games in 2023 and it kind of just got lost in the shuffle, as the game in itself was good, but it was nothing revolutionary, right? It wasn't like Helldivers. When you played Helldivers, you immediately knew that this was something special. Wayfinder, when you play it's like, oh, it's another solid one of these. And when the industry is filled with live service games that are trying to pull your attention, being just kind of good isn't enough really anymore. You really need something exceptional to pull people off of all these other games that are just trying to get people's time now. But I believe that model is falling out of favor now, as people are getting annoyed having their time wasted nowadays and being nickeled and dimed and having these feelings of FOMO. I did initially play the early access version of Wayfinder, and again, that's kind of how I felt about it. I had fun and I thought, hey, me and my friends getting into this would be pretty cool, and I think it would be interesting to play with my friends, but it's a bit rough still, so I'm going to tell my friends to wait and we're going to give it some time. But sadly, at the beginning of this year, Digital Extremes cut their publishing deal with Airship Syndicate, so the game no longer had a publisher and no longer had someone to like run the servers. So Airship Syndicate had to run it on their own, or else the game would be shut off. Now, Airship Syndicate has been kind of shopping the game around, trying to find a new publisher while updating the game in the background. But from then, hey, the game was pulled off sale and whatnot, and the future of the game seemed pretty bleak at this point. There's lots of stories of games like these coming out and we never see the light of day of them again, because they were trying to do this live service thing and it just didn't initially work out. Here we are now with Wayfinder Echoes, where the team announced that they're refocusing their scope on the game. It is no longer going to be this massive multiplayer MMO live service. It is just going to be one package now, a $25 single player co-op experience like Borderlands or Diablo. And now they are ripping out every single microtransaction and time wasting thing in the game and morphing it into an actual single player co-op game. Crazy, isn't it? To think that it's so rare to get games that aren't trying to waste your time anymore. But here's Wayfinder, and I understand that there's people who are upset that the scope has changed quite wildly, but for me personally, this has made me excited for the game way beyond ever before now, and we'll get into why. So let's get started. So Wayfinder Echoes did have a beta release weekend to give it a little bit of feedback before their May 31st release. So some people got to play the game and test it out for a bit. I played 10 to 15 hours. I tried 2 characters and tried multitudes of weapons in the game. And the first thing I noticed putting my time into the game is that it is completely unshackled by this live service dark cloud over your head. I don't know if you're like me or if you ever played other live service games, but it always felt bad playing a game and basically being in the equivalent of a paper sack and seeing all these cool things you can unlock and get and grab if you grind an insane amount of time or just give us $20. It was always this feeling of like, man, I really like how this game plays, but I want to unlock things and progress, but it's going to require, again, insane amount of time or money, and I could never get attached to anything because this cloud was always over my head. And also, it was always hard to pull friends from other games to come in and tell them, hey, let's play this game, but we're gonna have to dump hundreds of hours to get anything cool out of it. It's just not like a good ask anymore. Again, the game has to be quite exceptional for anything like that to happen again, or quite unique. And Wayfinder sadly isn't that unique, but it's super solid is the thing. And playing more and more of the game, you realize that there's like a really fun game behind this with a good art style, and I'm interested to see more. I did skip the story because this is just the beta. I'm gonna have to replay all this anyways, so I'll pay more attention to the story next time. But my main goal playing through the beta was to see, like, how did they grab this live service, like juggernaut, like a ton of bullshit, and condense it down to a game that people actually want to play. And with my time playing the game, that's what I seem to have found, is that there's just tons of stuff you're constantly unlocking and finding, and it's all stuff that used to be in the store or behind some massive grind or paywall, and now it's just shit you find in the game playing it. Wild, right? That you get to like progress and customize your character and unlock things by playing the game, rather than having like this insane massive grind or giving them a ton of money. The live service genre is a cesspool, and there's some outliers like Halo Infinite and Helldivers that are actually making steps in the right direction, I believe, but you could see that the greed sets in with a lot of companies, and the initial game was very much set up that way so that it could try to print infinite money as possible. But now it is a condensed package. Now it is just one game, and sadly for Airship Syndicate, hey, it's not going to print infinite money, but hopefully this will do well enough instead of just having nothing. Because another reason with the removal of the live service shackles is that I can freely play and experiment with the game. Before, that wasn't possible because characters would be locked and weapons would be locked unless I gave them more money to unlock them quicker or get another one. It was always this like weird things like, man, I want to try more of your game out and your systems, but again, there's just so many walls in the way. When I play Warframe, there's all these cool weapons I want to see and play with, but again, there's just more and more walls in my way to get there, and I'm personally just sick of being nickel and dimed. I don't care how cool that thing behind multiple paywalls and grinds is, I would rather just not play your game at this point. And the biggest thing is that the game is $25 now, and it is so much easier just to tell a friend, hey, this Borderlands Diablo-like action RPG is coming out with a decent loot progression and character progression and combat systems is coming out, and it's $25. Jump in it with me. That's such an easy sell compared to, again, diving into another free to play that just people are just gonna bounce off of nowadays. And I get some people stick, but in my experience, these things never last, and we're not looking for a game to play forever. We're looking for a game to play 30, 40, 50, 60 hours, but eventually finish and move on. But at least we had fun playing this game. And that's the thing with Wayfinder Echoes now. It is now this contained package of, hey, if you're looking for a pretty damn decent co-op game with a couple of your buddies, here it is, dude. Come play it. And as I said, I played the initial release, but I did put 10 to 15 hours into this beta. And one thing I noticed, especially with someone who used to have a really bad internet, one thing I noticed is that the game is no longer server based. There's no longer a delay in attacks or systems, right? Internet and lag is not going to be a problem when you're playing by yourself, but now you can feel the combat is so much smoother being local. And in my time playing the game, I was constantly unlocking new characters, new abilities, new skins, new colors, new sprays. There's a housing system, which is a relic of the MMO part of the game, but it's still in the game. And if you're like into that stuff, hey, there's houses you can decorate and collect like windows and chairs and stuff like that. Like there's things you're constantly finding and unlocking as you're exploring the world and fighting monsters and doing dungeons. You're getting that constant dopamine effect that these games are very good at of, oh, here's the purple, here's the blue, oh, here's a new weapon, here's a new item, oh, here's a new weapon with a different ability and a different affix. It's cool. It's so much fun. This formula has always been fun, and it's nice to see just another one of these games again. And compared to when I played the original early access release, the game runs way better now. Like completely smooth. I'm getting way higher frame rate because it ran like shit when I played the game initially. I imagine they patched it and worked on it since I played the initial release, but now coming into it on Echoes, like the game runs pretty damn well. It still seems to hate second screen or second monitor, as like OBS runs like fucking garbage, it being open on the other side. So I had to use my second PC setup to capture any footage or stream this because it just does not like OBS, or at least on my computer, it does not like OBS being open on the other screen. So again, but that's something that usually happens on early access games or games that aren't optimized well, is stuff like that. But for the most part, that's just like a me issue, right? I'll deal with it. for the most part, the game runs really well. And in an action game, if an action game doesn't run smoothly, it destroys the whole point of the game. Initially, I played as the rogue character. I can't remember her name, but she's the rogue character. It's very obvious. I unlocked Grendel. You unlock Grendel around like level 8 or 9 just by playing the main story. I played him for a while. I really liked him, but eventually I had to stop because everything in the beta is going to get wiped, and I'm just going to have to do all this again on May 31st. But in my time playing it, you can see that there's just heaps of content behind this game and things to unlock and mess with and play with. And it just, again, $25 seems crazy. It seems like you're robbing these developers. And I imagine they priced it so low because they knew that like they're in a weird situation, and this is very much just trying to like recoup costs in a lot of ways. They're basically trying to save the thing they've worked on for many years, and instead of completely losing it, hopefully they can release this part of the game and people have at least a decent time with it. And again, with my short time with it, I had a lot of fun. I wanted to play more of it, but again, it was the beta, so I had to stop. I'm gonna do a full review on the game and try to play through the whole story and try to see like what the rest of the game structure is. But as far as I can tell now, they've successfully grabbed that live service part of the game and cut all that bullshit out, put into the game, and made a fun, decent, progressing action RPG. And I'm really interested to see how everyone else is going to react to this, as it's only people who are founders that got to even try this beta, and the rest of the founders are going to get it on the 31st, and then the full release on, I believe, June 11th, something like that. And again, this is still all early access because they plan on patching and working on it until 1.0. And there's some feedback I have still, but I'm gonna save that for my full review as I need to see more of the game. There's a couple things they still need to work on and add, as again I'll be reviewing an early access version of the game. I do have some feedback, obviously, but for like the price they're asking for and the content you're getting and the quality of the content you're getting, this game is basically a steal. And I've had a ton of fun with it. Just playing 10-11 hours, I've gotten my money's worth. So hey, how do you feel about Wayfinder Echoes, and this whole situation it's in? Me personally, I'm way more excited than ever before because it's much easier to get into this game and play with a couple buddies. And that's what I'm currently looking for. I'm not looking for a game to waste my life in. I'm looking for a game to spend a solid amount of time in and have some fun. Let me know how you feel down below. Like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you on the next random drop video. Peace.